right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Alchemy Podcast. I'm your host, Doug Cartwright, and today we're doing a solo pod. The reason I wanted to come do a solo pod is, for those that know me, I'm also an executive mindset transformational coach for those in the sales space. And the majority of my day, I'm taking one-on-one calls with reps, managers, leaders all across the country. And I've noticed there's a similar trend that's been going on, and I wanted to address it to really help inspire and help kind of reframe the direction of your life. And a consistent conversation that I'm having quite a bit is that there's this belief, it feels like, that with the clients I'm working with, that if they achieve some level of success, whether that's financially, in their health, in their career, in recruiting, that because of their success, that they will then no longer feel unpleasant emotions. Right? I was talking to a rep just the other day, a client, and he was like, "Man, I'm selling well, and I'm having the best year yet so far, but I'm feeling a lot of anxiety. Like, why isn't the anxiety going away?" And there was such an incredible opportunity here because the mindset was, hey, most people I work with think that if I get the things that I think that I want, money, status, a hot partner, a cool house, that then I'll no longer feel unpleasant emotions anymore. I won't feel anxiety. I won't feel overwhelm. And the reality is that's just not true. And I think that the true direction you want to go and the true insight you want to lock into as you move forward isn't how do I get rid of my unpleasant emotion, but rather, how do I get really good at feeling anxiety? You know, as I dive into this topic, there's a foundational truth that I have to share, and it's this, is that we actually don't have good emotions and bad emotions, right? We tend to, as we grow up, label our emotions as good or bad, right? Feeling joy is good. Feeling enthusiastic is good. Feeling motivated and inspired feels really good. However, anxiety is bad. Insecurity is bad. Sadness is bad. And the problem that happens when we label our emotions as good and bad is that when the bad, quote unquote, bad emotions show up, our initial reaction is to get rid of them. How do I change this? How do I get rid of this anxiety? How do I push this stress away? What can I do so that I don't have to feel this? And what ends up happening is we kind of rush around our lives kind of manically trying to get rid of these bad emotions. And as I'm sure you listening, you realize that doesn't work too well. So fundamentally, before I dive into this topic, it goes to say that first reframe we have to make is that we actually don't have good emotions and bad emotions. We have pleasant emotions and we have unpleasant emotions. Love feels very pleasant. Motivation feels pleasant. Anxiety, unpleasant. Frustration, unpleasant. And the reason that reframe foundationally is so important is that because when unpleasant emotions arise, if we don't see them as bad, rather unpleasant, the initial reaction to push them away or get rid of them falls away. You know, one of my favorite quotes in personal development, and man, I've done a lot of personal development. I've had a lot of coaches in my life. I've done a lot of workshops, Tony Robbins, the Hoffman process, Millionaire Mastermind, you know, a lot of work in the therapy space and psychedelic space. You know, my favorite quote is, "You cannot stop the waves from coming, but you can learn how to surf." And I love that quote so much because what does it say? It says you can't stop the emotional waves from coming. We can't stop joy from coming. We can't stop sadness. We can't stop grief, anxiety, stress from coming. But you, as an individual, can learn how to surf that wave. And that's what personal growth and development is all about, is learning the skill to be able to handle any emotion that arises. What we're taught growing up, and it's pretty typical, is that when these unpleasant emotions show up, we tend to push them away. And Psychology 101 states, what you push away builds. We've all been there where the feeling of anger might arise within us. And I don't want to feel angry, so we push it away and we press it down. And then it starts to boil up. It boils up. It boils up. And then all of a sudden, One little thing happens and we lose it. We blow. The casket blows. And all of us have been there. And in those situations, we tend to do some things that we regret. And the goal of personal development isn't to get rid of anger, but to get really good at feeling it. Another analogy I like to been sharing with my clients is imagine that your inner capacity, your inner state of well-being is like a boardroom. So right now I'm in this boardroom, those that are watching the video. It's kind of a small room. There's 3 chairs in this room. There's a little table. There's a TV behind us here. And most of us, that's about the size of our inner capacity. So if the emotion of fear walked into the room right now, right? It's a very unpleasant emotion. If our inner capacity is small, like a boardroom, when fear shows up, it's going to be all consuming. It's going to fill up the whole space. It's all we're going to think about. We're going to ruminate over it. It's going to pull us into it. It's the only thing we can think about. And because it's unpleasant, our natural reaction is to try and get rid of it. So we start fighting with it. We start pressing up against it. The word I love is resistance. We start resisting it and pressing up against it. And that just causes more turmoil. We start to spin out. We get overwhelmed. And in the personal development and in the sales space, we call this burnout. We're burnt out of trying to fight this uncomfortable emotion. So the reframe you want to make on this is, as you do personal development work, the goal isn't to get rid of unpleasant emotion. The goal isn't to get rid of anger. But what true growth and true personal development is all about is, rather than trying to get rid of the emotion, let's do a demolition on the boardroom. Let's tear down the walls. Let's break down the ceiling, and let's expand our inner capacity to be a lot bigger so that when these emotions show up, there's space. And so the goal I've been sharing with my clients is like, hey, let's turn our inner boardroom into a football stadium. Now think about the last time you went to a football game, right? There's this massive stadium, right? And some football stadiums can fit close to 100,000 people in them. So if you've created an inner experience that's the size of a football field, when anger shows up, there's a lot of space to stay grounded, to stay steady, right? Imagine you're sitting in the bleachers of your football stadium and anger shows up. You're like, oh yeah, anger's here. I see it. It's over there. And I still have a lot of space to move around. Oh, also anxiety's here. I can handle anxiety too. And stress just showed up too. But because my inner capacity is so big, it doesn't knock me off my center. I can stay rooted and grounded in the face of anxiety, stress, overwhelm, insecurity, jealousy, right? We cannot stop the waves from coming, right? Imagine, for example, you moved into this beautiful home, your dream house up in the mountains overlooking the beach, has a nice fire pit, a pool, floor-to-ceiling windows all across the house. And for the sake of the example, let's say you had 4 other roommates that happened to live in this house too. And you despised these roommates. You couldn't stand being around them. Every time they came into the room, you freaked out. You want to leave the room. You try and get rid of them. If this were the reality of your situation, how would the quality of your life be? It'd be very poor, right? You'd be consumed by these roommates and you hated them. Even though you live in the most beautiful home, right, the quality of your life would still be very low. So eventually, if you were wise, you would come to grips with yourself and you'd be like, you know what? If I'm going to live in this beautiful home with these roommates for the rest of my life, I better learn how to live with them. I better learn how to be okay with them. Because if not, I'm in big trouble. And one thing that I've learned in my personal development growth journey is that when I learned to be okay with my unpleasant experiences and got to really understand my unpleasant emotions, I had a massive breakthrough. And I learned that every unpleasant emotion that shows up is actually there to give me a message. It's usually protecting me from something, right? So fear is an emotion all of us deal with. The emotion of fear is usually protecting us from something deeper, right? In the sales space, we all have fear of getting out and knocking or going out and recruiting. We feel that fear. What's that fear protecting us from? Deeper rejection, deeper hurt. And a lot of times that fear will show up to get us into gear, to get out, start working, start recruiting, start selling, start building your business. And if you look at your fear from a perspective of it's trying to help you, you can see that it's encouraging you to take action. That emotion is on your team. It's on your side. Right? I don't know about you guys, but for the majority of my life, another analogy that I love is, in this beautiful home, I used to think of my unpleasant emotions as like the Dementors from Harry Potter, right? These big, black, dark creatures that were evil. And when they would come and knock on my door, I would go and lock the door. I'd turn off the lights. I'd run away from them. I'd hide in my closet and just hope that they would go away. And as I resisted them, they would knock harder and louder on the door, to the point where I got very uncomfortable, very disoriented, and I wasn't able to show up as the best version of myself because I was just trying to hide from these Dementors. And one thing that I learned is that when these emotions show up, instead of running away and hiding in the closet and locking them out, I'm going to encourage you to go to the front door, open up the door, and invite them in. Let them come in, give them a seat at the table, and ask them, what are you here to teach me? What do you want me to know? And one of the biggest breakthroughs you can have as an individual is that when you fully feel an emotion, when you fully let it in and let it overtake you, and the word I love is surrender to the emotion. Give it space inside of you. Give it room and rhythm to move through you. As unpleasant as that is, it only takes about 90 seconds for the intensity to diminish. I want to say this very clearly. There's never going to come a time in your life where, because you achieved something great, $20 million, beautiful home, hot partner, that because of what you achieved externally, that you then no longer feel unpleasant emotion. Right? These roommates are going to be with you until the day you die. These experiences of insecurity, jealousy, fear, anxiety will be with you until we put you in the ground. So again, your opportunity here as an individual is learning how to sit with them, how to be with them, right? How to give them space to be there, not to get rid of them, not to override them, not to push them away, but to fully surrender to them. And what I mean by surrender, surrender there's a lot of misconception around surrender. Sometimes people think surrender is like, oh, giving up or quitting, or I'm going to surrender to life and I'll let people walk all over me. No. Surrender is something that happens internally. So how do we do this, right? Anytime that you feel resistance internally, tension, tightness, you unclench. Unclench. Relax your hands, relax your face, relax your gut. As men, we like to flex our gut a lot, right? Relax your gut. Unfurrow your brow, relax the point in between your eyebrows, unclench, and melt. What does melt mean? Melt back into yourself. You're almost going to fall behind it, fall away from it, fall behind it. And what will happen is that unpleasant emotion will move up, and it's going to be unpleasant, right? It's going to be uncomfortable. You're going to lean away from it. You're going to melt away from it. And here's what's really cool, what happens. When you allow the unpleasant emotion to move through you, it will transmute through the top of your head. Now there's nothing to push down. Now there's nothing holding you down to disorient yourself. And now I can show up in what I call triple C. The direction you want to go in your life, the state you want to be in when you knock doors, when you recruit, when you come home to your family, when you show up to a friend's birthday party, whatever it may be. You want to be in a state of triple C. And what's triple C? Calm in the body. You're relaxed. You're calm. You're not jittery. You're not bouncing your leg up and down. You're not biting your nails. You're calm. You're confident in your core. Maybe not confident in the situation, right? There's a lot of uncertainty in life. But you're confident in your ability to navigate the situation. And clear in the mind. Right? One thing that's really important to note here is majority of the clients I work with are stuck in what I call front layer of mind. What's front layer of mind? Front layer of mind is that when we are pulled into our emotional discomfort. Most people I work with, they're not crazy depressed or crazy overwhelmed, but they're just slightly uncomfortable. I'm a little anxious. I'm a little on edge. I'm a little frustrated. In other words, I'm slightly not okay. I'm just not okay. And what we tend to do is, what do I need to do in the outside world to make it so I'm not, what do I have to do in the outside world so that I am okay? And so we rush around and trying to fix everything and get people to act a certain way and get our installs to go through, whatever it may be. And when you're stuck in front layer of mind, you're actually not using the highest part of your being, your brain, your mind, to think and reason and calculate. Listen, if you go into a business decision and you're really anxious, let's say you've got a big business decision ahead of you, right, as far as your team or your organization, and you go into that business really anxious, you're actually out of integrity. And the reason being is because if you go in to make a decision and you're anxious, subconsciously, you are going to make the decision that you think will alleviate your anxiety rather than what's the highest and best decision I can make for this situation. They're just two completely different paths, right? So our goal is to move from front layer of mind to second layer of mind. Second layer of mind is I'm okay. I'm okay. I can handle the uncertainty in my business. I can handle the insecurity in my relationship. I can handle the frustration with my organization. I'm good. I'm in triple C. I'm calm in my body. I'm confident in my core, and I'm clear-minded. And when you can, it's like a falling back. It's really deep, guys. It's like a falling back. When I can get to triple C, I can handle this. I'm okay. Now your ability to think and reason and solve difficult problems opens up to a whole nother level. Now you can actually make really powerful decisions. And something really cool happens that I want to share that I think can change a lot of people's lives. And it's when you move into triple C, calm, confident, and clear, you become so intuitive that you kind of just know what to do next, right? You have a very difficult situation ahead. You go into that situation grounded, calm, confident, and clear. The way you make the decision, it becomes so natural, right? A lot of people struggle with making decisions, right? And the reason that is because you're so consumed in your emotional discomfort. If you can learn to increase your inner capacity to a football stadium by relaxing, unclenching, releasing, being able to handle it, what to do next in your life becomes the most natural thing in the world, right? One of the analogies I love is for those that are parents. If you're having a hard day, you're feeling stressed, you're feeling anxious, you're feeling overwhelmed, you're feeling frustrated with your team and your organization, and you and your wife got in a disagreement and the driver in front of you just cut you off, and you go to the coffee order and you spilled your coffee all over you and you are really dysregulated, and you go home and your toddler is throwing a tantrum. I don't want to know what you're going to do because you're going to make it about you. I'm so disoriented, I can't handle this, and then you're going to lash out, right? You're going to make a poor decision. Versus in the second opportunity, if I'm calm, I'm centered, I'm clear, I can handle this, right? It's not ideal, it's not pleasant, right? But I can handle this. For those that are parents, if you're in a natural state of calm, confident, and clear, and your toddler is throwing a tantrum, it's the most natural thing in the world on how to respond. You just know what to do. It just kind of is a natural unfolding. And you can take this same mindset into everything, to the rep that's on your team that's having a hard time, to the customer that's feeling panicked or worried about a solar install, right? To your partner who's feeling, cold feet about the growth of your relationship. If you can return to your state of centeredness, of calm, confident, and clear, you've increased your capacity, your inner state of well-being is so big, right? You'll be able to handle anything. So how do we do this? My favorite tool, again, you're going to unclench. Anytime you feel physical resistance, you unclench. You melt back into yourself and you tell yourself this: I can handle this. Driver in front of you cuts you off, I can handle this. Got your coffee order wrong, I can handle this. You just got your last 3 solar installs all canceled. I can handle this. Your hinge date ghosted you. I can handle this. Again, this doesn't mean it's going to be pleasant inside. What it does mean is now you're not storing more stuff back inside. You're not pushing it away. You're not creating dysregulation. Again, the goal isn't to bypass uncomfortable emotions. The goal is to increase your inner capacity so big that whatever happens in your life, you can handle it. One of my favorite questions to ask people: how good have you been at predicting exactly how your life is going to unfold? It's one of my favorite questions, because the reality is we're so bad at it. We are so bad at predicting exactly how our life's going to be. So given your track record, how good are you going to be moving forward? Probably not very good. And the reality is life is under no obligation to be the way you want it to. There are going to be things that unfold in your life that are going to cause frustration and disappointment and anxiety and insecurity and jealousy and frustration, all the things, and grief. Can you handle it? Can you handle it? Because if not, if you can't handle it, your life is just going to get more messy, more intense, burnout. You're going to make rash decisions, and you're going to be stuck at what I call being at war with yourself. The highest life you can live is to continuously relax, unclench, melt away. And what happens is, and it's the most beautiful thing in the world. I love when I have clients who get here. When you allow the unpleasant emotions to move through you, a lot of us have stuff we've stored down there for years, 20 years, 30 years, right? I've got people who I know who have been divorced for 10 years and they're not divorced in their head. They're still arguing with their ex-wife from 10 years ago and they're inside. When you allow that discomfort to move through you, and it's not going to be pretty, right? Because if you stored it with pain, guess what? It's coming up with pain. If you allow that pain to move through you, what's beneath that is the most beautiful thing in the whole world. It's what I call your natural state. You want to know what your natural state is? Think about who you were when you were 4 years old, when you were a toddler. You're running around the playground. You're joyful. You're energetic. You're laughing. You're enthusiastic. You're talking with strangers. You're just beaming with joy. That's your natural state. That's what's still down in there. But what you've done is you've blocked it. You've pushed anxiety. You've pushed hurt. You've pushed grief and pain on top of that light source. So when the light wants to come up, it can't because it's blocked. I'm telling you, learning this skill is the most important thing you will ever do in your entire life. It's more important than your job. It's more important than your relationship. It's more important than your career. It's more important than your family. I know that sounds intense, but the reality is if you don't do this work, you are going to be dysregulated, frustrated, anxious, insecure, and trying to force and manipulate and get things to be a certain way, and you're going to be burnt. What's a midlife crisis? Midlife crisis is I've been pushing and trying and hard, trying to get everything to be a certain way for so long, and it's not working, so I'm going to break. I'm going to crack. There's 8.3 billion people on planet Earth. There's 8.3 billion completely different points of view. Everyone has different perspectives. Everyone has a different idea who should be president, what should the economy do, and what religion you should go to. So we're all going to fight with each other. Life is under no obligation to be the way we want it to. It can't be. So surrendering to your inner states, learn how to handle reality. What's reality? One sentence: that which has already happened. We can't change the past. We can't predict the future. But what we can do is we can learn to regulate ourselves in such a way to increase our inner capacity to the size of a football stadium so that when these emotions show up, we can stay steady, we can stay grounded, we can stay triple C, calm in our core, calm in the body, confident in our core, and clear in our mind. If you navigated your life in a state of triple C 99% of the time, what would naturally happen to your sales performance? What would naturally happen to the growth of your business? What would naturally happen to your marriage, to your relationship with your family, to your wife, to your kids? you're bringing the highest and best version of yourself to every situation. That's the highest thing you can do. So when I say this is the most important skill you can learn, I mean it. Because if I can bring the highest and best version of myself to every situation, I can leave every moment better off than when I found it. And the exciting thing about this, I think it's exciting, is that this work never ends. Still to this day, I'm not perfect at this. I've been doing this work for 8 years, and I still get triggered, and I still get pulled into my emotions over there. But now, here's what we're going for. If you used to get anxiety or dysregulated, and it would knock you off their course for a week, and it felt like a 10 intensity, because you're fighting it, you're resisting it, you're pushing against it, you're trying to change life to be the way so it matches your stuff, right? What happens, and here's the goal, is that when the anxiety shows up, if you can now make it last for 4 hours and it only feels like a 7 intensity, that's growth. So again, the goal isn't to get rid of the anxiety. You can't. What you push down grows. The goal is to increase your inner capacity so that you can handle the discomfort without getting knocked off your center. The most successful people that I know are not the smartest, they're not the most creative, they're not the most intelligent, they're not even the most hardworking. They have done such an incredible job at being able to handle emotional discomfort. They can sit with really high levels of uncertainty and anxiety and stress and overwhelm without getting knocked off their center. So I hope this helps. If you want to go deeper than this is the work that I do in my one-on-one coaching for your specific situation. It is the most important skill you'll ever learn. I'm also giving you a little bit of a teaser for my next book that's coming out in late 2025. And I just want to give this message to you guys here because it's coming up a lot in my one-on-ones to reframe that it's not about getting rid of unpleasant emotions, but rather getting really good at feeling them. If you have more questions, hit me up on Instagram at Doug_Cartwright. Or if you want to take the next step and be a part of the Alchemy family and work on this one-on-one, fill out an application on alchemysalescoaching.com. Much love, everybody. Relax and release, unclench, melt, increase that inner capacity to a football stadium. And remember, you can handle anything.